And it is starting. Start recording. There we go. Wow. Alrighty, so hi, good afternoon. This is David Perlman, and with me is
Heather Cox.
Heather Cox, and we also have Stephanie today, who is lurking a little. I'll be lurking next week. With us today, we have our friends Daniel and people are moving around too much. Danielle, and I
Yes.
believe she has her husband actually listening today. So I'm going to let you
Yes.
introduce yourself, but really excited about what you're doing with Virtual Science Fair and Teams. So look forward to hearing what you're doing. Feel free to introduce yourself, and we'll go on mute. Leave a few seconds at the end for questions.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
We can.
All right. My name is Danielle Navariz. Good afternoon, everybody. I am the instructional officer at my proud district of Socorro ISD in El Paso, Texas. I'm in charge of elementary science, and I'm also the district elementary science fair coordinator. So I wanted to share an innovative way that we took science fair digital this year. Despite our current situation of COVID-19, we were not going to cancel science fair. That was just not an option for us. So we kind of got together as a team, and shout out to my team, and we had to really brainstorm a way to take the show digital. And so it was kind of like this. It was kind of like we were making and building the plane as we were flying it. So it definitely was a journey. We are the pioneers. We're the first district within our region to do anything like this. And so there was nobody really to look forward to or ask questions. So we really had to discover it on our own. So looking at our live annual district science fair that we put on, we had to really take some things into consideration. So we had to think about how are kids going to put everything that they put on their science boards, you know, those trifold boards that open up, how are they going to put all that information onto a PowerPoint, and how are they going to present it digitally? How are they going to be able to upload their presentation successfully with capacity and those sorts of issues? How can we revise our rubric that we've been using for a couple of years to look at these changes that we were making? How are we going to make sure that each participant is judged twice? So normally we have long tables, everyone comes and sets up their boards, and they have to be judged by 2 judges, and then those scores are average. So how could we do that digitally? How was I going to be able to see the scores if I didn't have paper pencil tabulation sheets to tabulate? And then something super important, I like to validate our students' hard work. And so typically we'd have them walk across the stage, and they would shake hands with all the principals in the district. How could I recreate that in the virtual world, knowing that we can't be on that stage shaking hands? So these were all the considerations. When we looked at all these considerations, there was only one platform that we knew could get the job done, and that was Microsoft Teams. So these were the steps, and I just invite you to take this in. If you don't have a science fair, you don't work at a district, or your campus doesn't do science fair, maybe you're at a university and you have an event that you could kind of follow the same structure of it. I had to create a Teams, one per science fair category. It was very easy to add our coordinators as students, because we're a Microsoft Office district, so everybody has access to Teams. And then I added the judges, which are high school students, as teachers. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So here are my teams, and I like to just kind of put the tile to match the team. It helps the students kind of figure out where they need to be. And then I created assignments for each grade level. So my fair covers 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We have 28 elementary campuses, so I had to split them in half. There's no way that one judge could judge 28 projects. So I had to split them in half. I did add a rubric, and then coordinators just went into their assigned assignment, grade level, category, and school number, and they uploaded those presentations twice. Again, they have to be judged twice. And then what was super awesome is as our judges were completing the scoring, I could go into the grade section and I could see the scores and document them for tabulation. I could also see the feedback that they were giving. This is an example of the coordinator name and then the scores that you could see. So I wanted to make sure our high school students were being giving constructive feedback to our elementary kids. So this was our rubric. Basically, I'm sharing this information to show you how easy it was for me to transfer a rubric that we already had into a rubric within an assignment in MS Teams. So here are the descriptors, and basically everything is 5 points, so it's a total of 100 points. We really had to revise the rubric when it came to the presentation. They weren't going to have a board anymore. And so we really wanted to see how we could revise the rubric. One thing being digital, we could definitely see how long the presentation was. So we wanted to keep them to 5 minutes. So they actually got points for staying within that allotted time. And then this was the embedded narration, which would take place of the live interview that we usually have. So this is an example of the way that I created very easily a rubric within the assignment in Teams. And what was cool is that when the judges went in to judge, they could actually click on each of these descriptors depending on the presentation. It would give them a running total so they could kind of see what the student was getting so far as they go through those descriptors. And then this is an example of the feedback. So here's the link to this presentation, very easy to access. Click on it, it opens in a new window. Here's that rubric that they would actually be clicking on. And then here's that feedback, which was awesome because the coordinators would get that feedback and they could give it to the students immediately. So that was really cool. So we do have sweepstakes. The presentations in first place for each of those categories go up against each other, kind of like best in show. And so we had a 3rd grade sweepstakes, 4th and 5th. And then the judges reviewed those presentations, and having the presentations saved within Teams assignments was easily shared with the judges. So I just put up a Word document for them and I put the links, and they could just click on the links and they could get to the presentation very easily. And then I used Microsoft Forms so that they could click and drag the order of their preference. And then of course, I got that information right away. So that was the way that we did the sweepstakes. So going through this process was tedious. It was a lot of work. It expanded our science fair window by about 2 weeks, but there were lots of really positive outcomes that I really didn't even think about. Our students were enhancing their technology skills by learning how to embed that narration. Sometimes we were helping kids snip a little bit of time off of their presentation because they were over the 5 minutes. They didn't want to miss out on those points. Coordinators were learning how to use the assignments within Teams a little bit more, uploading the links or the files through OneDrive. So they were enhancing their skills. The high school students, which was awesome, they could judge at any time. They could judge on their phone, they could judge at night after they finished with their sports and their schoolwork, and then that immediate real-time feedback was awesome too. Student narration. So this was a big change for students. They could record their presentations over and over until they liked it, till it was perfect in their mind. Both judges were able to view the same presentation. So normally when we have the live fair, the judge would come by and the student would give their presentation, and then a different judge would come by and the student might improve their presentation a little bit more. In this case, both judges were judging the exact same presentation. And then we found that students that are a little more on the shy side with their presentation, they felt the confidence to present through audio. They didn't have to show their face, but it just gave them a little bit more confidence. And then I have all the presentations saved because I'm the owner of the teams. So I can share, like, what does first place in 5th grade physical science look like? This is what it looks like. So it's great that we have all of that archived. We did use Microsoft Teams to do office hours. So after hours or during the day, coordinators would pop in, show me your screen, click here, right-click on share, copy, paste. And so it really helped that way as well for troubleshooting. This is an example of our third grade sweepstakes winner. So just to show you how creative they got with their PowerPoint, you could see the student's face here. And so of course his narration was embedded. And then the PowerPoint format allowed him to easily insert his pictures from his investigation. And then, like I said, we like to give students credit, and they really had to put themselves out there and really worked hard on these during a difficult time. And so I did put together a little awards video that is on YouTube, and then this is kind of what it looked like. So it was easily shared with the campus digitally, maybe on a Teams call with the campus, or they could share it with their community. Parents could see it, and so that's kind of my way of validating their work. So that was important for me. So I really couldn't do it without my team. And we really live up to our motto of Team SISD. Our campus coordinators, our teachers or instructional coaches on their elementary campus, the teachers of the students really helped them to chunk the project up over a couple of months so that they could get it done and help them put it in that PowerPoint format. The judges were high school judges from our school district, so different types of programs. And then also my team. So my secondary counterpart, who's Frank McDonald, he runs the middle school and high school fair. And so we worked really well together as thinking partners, like, hey, so we have to upload it here, but they'll have access to this. And so I couldn't do it without my team. Also, big shout out to Mr. Al Garcia, my boss, who is on, and then Mr. Miguel Moreno, who's also part of our team. He oversees instructional technology. So it truly is like a team that we have to work with because we can't do it alone. And then this is my contact information. I am on Twitter. And if you have any questions for me, I can take questions now, or if you'd rather email me. I just really wanted to share this innovative way that the way that this platform really helped us to continue with our annual science fair. We knew that we weren't going to cancel it, but Teams really made it doable. Like we could not do it without Teams. And so I'll go ahead and stop sharing.
That's okay. I bet you we are going to have some questions. So great presentation. It's great seeing you pull this all together. I will save my questions towards the end, but I'm guessing Stephanie and or Heather certainly have a couple questions that they'd love to start off with, but super cool. Really loved what you did.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Oh, Heather, your camera is on. Do you want to go first or?
You go first. I'll go after you.
So first of all, I love it. It's wonderful. And wouldn't a teacher do it, right? To find a way to make this happen. And actually, Heather and I, under Heather's tutelage, we supported several sort of conferences, big level conferences, thousands and thousands of attendees who have now tried to utilize Teams in a way to kind of keep the momentum going. Yeah. And we're actually participating also as judges in a state tech competition coming up. We have a lot of use cases for this. So first of all, way to go. Second of all, what are the speed bumps? What are the things that maybe people haven't thought of, or something that you can say, looking in the rearview mirror, I wish we would have seen this or done this a little bit differently, right?
Yeah, so one thing is really, well, looking at our population. So it's 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So you have to keep that in mind. Our coordinators really had to work with them on embedding that narration into the PowerPoint and saving it as an MP4. So we had to play around with uploading different sized files to make sure that they would upload. So we found the solution in OneDrive. because if you upload it to your Socorro, your district OneDrive, the capacity is there. And then some of the videos that were a little shorter, when you add work to the assignment, you could actually just add the video and it would open right away. But some of them that were a little longer, they had to share the link. And so along the way, we had to, instead of having like multiple meetings with our coordinators, because I have 28 coordinators, I would do videos. So I would get on and just record a video and stream, and then I would share so that I could share my screen and tell them, like, right click share and then copy and then add work and then title it with the student's name. And so that adding videos really helped. I even made a video for the judges, like, watch it at your own on your own time. This is how you're going to judge. You click here in your teams. And so that helped making those videos. Something that that was kind of a speed bump is that we couldn't have outside judges. So they had to have access to teams. So for the middle school and the high school fairs, they do get people from the field, from our university, people in engineering, and people from all over can judge those fairs. But for my fair, it limited us a little bit because they had to have access to teams. So that's why we use the high school students for judges.
I mean, in general, I think that's a great idea, like allowing the whole community, having those high school students to be the judges was a great workaround for that. I mean, and like Stephanie said, the minute you started showing everything, like idea,
Awesome.
some folks locally have reached out to us about, doing a virtual technology fair. And so as soon as we have access to this recording, they're going to be getting a copy of it because I just think there's a lot that people can do. And in many cases, I think it just helps people rethink the way the platform can be used, because
absolutely,
some people get very, tunnel vision with, I collaborate with my colleagues and and I have some meetings, and then they miss all of the other aspects that can be used in conjunction with it and make something beautiful like this happen. I think it's just fascinating. I love this.
Yeah, and it wasn't until afterwards that we were like, oh, they got better with technology. Oh, this happened. Like, oh, like all of these pluses that you don't anticipate just come along. And at the end, when you look back to reflect, you're like, wow, we really did it. And everyone gained something. The kids were still able to participate. We still are able to recognize their work. And coordinators, I told them, we're on a journey together, guys. Like we're literally building the plane together and we're flying it. And so they were great. And so it was a win-win. It really was. And we couldn't do it without this platform.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. So a couple questions. If you have the YouTube, you said, of the sweepstakes, would you mind putting that in the, if there's a link and it's public, put that over in the chat pane? I know a few people that would love to see that, especially as part of when they're looking at this recording. What kind of devices, like, I think about kind of the technology equity issue, right? And so there's some big equity gaps. How did you, were students using cell phones? Were they using iPads? Were they, not every person has a Surface device or, some other thing that how'd you bridge that?
Right. So our district is working very hard to be a one-to-one district. And so I know in the middle school and high school, and just with this year, we've been providing technology to students in all grade levels. And so lots of them were using their district technology that they have. I didn't run into very okay. issues of like students not having the technology to do it. Maybe, that wasn't an issue that came up. You have to think about these science fair kids. They're determined. They have to go. They're smart and they're determined. And if they have to borrow something, they'll make it work. But another plus was me being able to see all of the presentations. The day of science fair, we are running around so busy, judges over here and coordinators and this board, and making sure that they don't have like edible things on their boards and stuff like that. We don't get a chance to hear those presentations, and now that we have them all captured digitally, we can go back to them. So.
And no, that's great. And what is the makeup of your district in terms of size? Kind of some of the demographics. Do you feel language what is size? How many people participated in this? Those kind of things.
Well, we have 48,000 students district-wide. We're pre-K through 12. I have 28 or 29 elementary campuses.
Wow.
We had close to 300 entries. And I had 65 judges from the high school kids as judges. And we're located on the border. And so we do have a high population of ELL learners. And but our kids, they have spunk and they're ready to go and show you what they know. I was blown away by their presentations. I gave them a basic template and they ran with it. They put their own, design to it, their flair. And so I kind of look at that as them decorating their boards.
Awesome.
Their digital PowerPoint was like how they would decorate their boards. So yeah, we had a lower participation than we would at a live fair, but we still had a good number. I think over 300 projects is still good for this, for our virtual learning time. And I was happy. I was happy with the numbers.
I think what makes me so excited about it too is not just the fair, like in and of itself, but the subsequent impact that it may have on the school, the district, and just rethinking any project, anything that takes place at any time, because there are so many. And it's not to say that like a trifold board isn't going to be a great project for some students, but allowing this other realm to be considered as an option would be great. We do have a question from Jose. Are they using Stream or ODFB for the recordings?
So most of them were using the recording within PowerPoint.
Okay.
So they recorded over the slides, and then they would just save it as an MP4.
Okay.
And so.
What they didn't have Jose, they didn't. Apologies if you can hear
for guest judges.
Yeah.
Yeah, we unfortunately we were not able to have any guest judges or judges from the field because they didn't have access to Microsoft Teams.
You did mention though with the high school, so did they do the same setup with external access?
So our middle school and high school fairs, and I don't know if I'm going to say a bad word, but they actually used the Google platform.
Okay.
And the reason why is because because
I
know, right? Because they have external judges, and so those students actually advance to the regional fair. And so we have people in the field, engineering, nursing, and what was awesome was that they were able to be in Dallas and still participate as a judge. And so my partner's here, if you have any questions about the middle school or high school fair.
Well, I mean, definitely that, you can have external users in Teams. So for sure.
Yeah. So maybe, that was something we could have looked at. Yeah.
That's definitely something we could look at in the future. And in that aspect, just the way that it's set up, it does open up the rest of the nation or the world to judges. So and the fact that they were able to do it from the comfort of their home was appealing to them, and it turns a long Saturday into a very convenient, I guess, I don't know, a Good Friday night. Some people may not call that a Good Friday night, but
Yeah, well, that's funny that you mention it, because actually the one that I was referencing, they heavily emphasize to us, do this from the comfort of your home in your pajamas, you know. So, you know, and it is in some cases, you know, you guys, we haven't met, but you know, when you have families, you have lots of kids, and getting out of your house, you want to be there for those events, and so I think, you know, that's a great opportunity, which is really, really fantastic. And I know, you know, the folks that you work with that are my counterparts, and Stephanie's and Dave's in that area, they're amazing. So you've got the support you need if you need those external guests to be helping you judge as well.
Awesome.
And let me just answer Marge's question too, because it was my thought as well, right? We can provide external access for sure, but what you didn't have at the time that is now rolled out would be the class drop-in app that folks are able to add, like that temporary inclusion that can expire. And so, you know, to have someone in your tenant long-term is not the most secure with guest access, but certainly the class drop-in app would have absolutely made that possible. So day late and $1 short for this project, but for the next go around.
Yeah, and I saw it in the chat. Will I continue to use this? I can't imagine having 100 judges and passing out clipboards to them. Like, how did we even do that? Like, that was just like germ infested. Like, I can't, you know, here are the burritos and get some more orange juice. Like, I just can't imagine going back to that. And
The
so
mindset has changed.
very much so. We miss our burritos, but I don't know if we'll be going back to that.
Who wouldn't?
So I was thinking, Danielle, as you were speaking, I'm putting together, and you know, we all have our mad little side projects. I'm working with 5 or 6 universities in the area doing a business case competition around some problems that we're trying to solve right on the Microsoft side of things. And so I was kind of asked to put this together, and you know, I envision a couple hundred students, and what I was going to do is very different from what I'm going to do, because I used to, after hearing this, because we used to set up like, you know, they do the pitch and they do it live and we do all this stuff. I'm going to have them record it, and then they can submit it if they want to do a little preamble, or if they want to be a Q&A session, because man, it was challenging just doing it for 2 schools last year, and now we have 6. You know, and these are senior business case study theses for the MBA students, and I'm like, I'm gonna use this. So
Yeah.
really well done.
Yay.
Really well done.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna stop recording here. But great job. Really appreciate
you.
it. And then let's see if we have any words of wisdom, Heather or